Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and welcome to the Dice Tower. Today I'm talking about an expansion for Ticket to Ride Iberia and South Korea. I was very excited about this expansion for a couple reasons, because the one map looked really interesting, the Korean map, and also I lived in South Korea for almost 10 years, so I'm glad to see any game that uses that. It's just exciting for me, and also I love Ticket to Ride. So let's take a look at this expansion. There's two different maps with two different rule sets. Here we go. The first thing to notice here on the board is that all the colors are grouped together. Yellow, blue, purple on the top, green and orange in the middle, white, black, and red at the bottom. There's a few gray routes on the board. But this means if I see somebody taking red trains, I know kind of where they are going. So that's a pretty big change in and of itself. They also changed it so that when you draw tickets at the beginning of the game, you are going to be drafting them. You'll draw a handful of tickets, keep one, and pass them around the table as you draft your tickets. Also, players are going to start the game with 3 express trains. Express trains are a big deal in Korea, so you get a +1, a +2, and a +3. And these change the game like this. When you're drawing cards, train cards, you can discard one of these to draw that many cards off the deck, extra cards. Also, when you draw tickets, you can discard one of these to draw extra tickets before discarding them. The biggest change, other than that, is this board here. Now, this board, whenever I put down a route and I play train cards, let's say I put down a 4 green train route here, I can then put one of my trains on this 4 spot here. In fact, I could even pay an extra green train. I could pay 5 green trains to put it here. I can also play these cards to put it on a higher spot. If I play a 4 green train spot and there already is a train there and I don't want to pay more to get it higher, I just would have to put it on a lower one. Why do you want to do that? Because at the end of the game, whoever has the most trains on each of these is going to win points you're going to add them together. So if I'm on a 2 and a 6, that would be an 8. And if someone else is on the 8, we would be tie, but the farthest train to the right would break that tie. These points are given out according to this card here. So in a 4-player game, whoever's first gets 10, then 6, 4, and 2. In a 2-player game, whoever's winning gets 10 points, the other player gets nothing. So those will be added up at the end of the game. So that's what's on the Korean side of the board. On the Iberian side of the board, it looks more like a normal Ticket to Ride board, although you'll notice there's ferries. These show up on several maps in Ticket to Ride, and that simply means you need to play a wild. So in this one, you need to play at least 3 wilds to connect those 2 cities. Now, this expansion comes with its own set of train cards, and the reason it does that is because the Iberian one has a bunch of cards that are going to be shuffled into the deck. As you draw these, whenever one of these is drawn, you're going to place it out somewhere near. So this is Porto Coimbra. So I'd place it somewhere next to the board over by those 2 cities. And if you get more than one for the same city, you would just stack them together around the board. The reason you're doing this is because if I connect a route to Porto or Coimbra, I'm going to be able to take all these cards that are there. So there's only 3 of these cards in the game, and if I get 2 of them at the end of the game, I'm going to get 8 points. If I get all 3, I'm going to get 12. If you have cards out for 2 different cities on the board, let's say I have Lisboa and the Porto Coimbra cards are out, and I connect these 2, I would only take one of the 2 cities' groupings of cards. This game, just like the Korean side, at the beginning when you get your tickets, you will draft them, just like they did there. But you cannot draw more tickets. Halfway through the deck, this card's going to show up, and this card says we're going to draft more tickets. Until this card shows up, you cannot draw more tickets from the ticket deck. Once you've gone through that extra draft and drafted more destination tickets, then you can take tickets like normal in a regular game. Scoring for the game is pretty much the same as a normal Ticket to Ride game, with the exception of, as in the Korean one, there's no longest route and things like that. That's not in this game. But you are going to score points for having a lot of cards. Like if you have 6 or more Valencia cards, you'll get 22 points. Hey, there's only 1 card for this city, but if you have it, it's 6 points. If I get 3 cards for Sevilla, I'm going to get 6 points. And these points are added to your totals. Most points wins. A couple of observations here. First of all, I think because this expansion includes tickets, if you have some piles of trains laying around, you can play this without a base set. Other than that, you do need a base set. I find it interesting that both expansions involve drafting of the destination cards, and that makes me think that that's just going to be a new rule that they add to tournaments and elsewhere with Ticket to Ride. I think that that's going to be a thing of the future. We'll see. But the fact that they did it in both, I mean, in Iberia, it's kind of a bigger deal, especially that midway one. So let's talk about each of the maps. South Korea. If you want to be in a certain area of the map and you want to connect tickets, you need a lot of that color. So you got to keep that in mind. It kind of telegraphs where you're going. So that's interesting, and I like that part. It's just different, right? It doesn't make it amazing or bad. There's some similarities to Africa, which had some similar ideas to this. I think it's a really pretty map when it's laid out on a table. The fighting over who has the most of a color and the express tickets, those are interesting. The express tickets are fine. They fall in that category for me of use them or lose them. Like, don't wait. I'll save it for a better time. You'll never get around to doing that. But they seem very rare that I would ever use them to draw more train cards. Maybe in desperation near the end of the game. I could see myself using them for tickets, but more often than not, I use them to move my trains on that scoring board. That scoring board's interesting. It gives another way to score, and you're fighting back and forth on it. Although I will say it's a little less exciting in a two-player game because it's actually really important in a two-player game because it's a swing of 10 points, which is a lot. While there's going to be a second place in a three-player game. I think the Korean map is okay at 2, but much more interesting with more players. The Iberia map actually is my favorite of the two maps. Now, this one has all those destination cards coming out, which is really interesting. There is a slight negative to that, and that is that it's going to slow the game down a bit. Whenever you draw one, you're like, this one goes over here. Draw one, this goes over here. And you might draw 3 or 4 in a row before you draw train cards. And if you play Ticket to Ride, you know that drawing train cards is the fastest part of the game. Give me 2 cards, and then, you keep moving. Here, you're putting that stuff out. Now, I think the payout is really interesting. It makes people put trains on the table faster. You want to get them out there as quickly as you can to claim these cards, or you might even play a little bit of chicken. There's 2 cards there. Well, I'll wait till there's 3 before I connect to that. But if someone else connects there and takes those, it's just another way to get points. And I kind of find that to be enjoyable. That mid-round draft is brutal, though. That's there. It feels like that's there to keep you from placing too many trains at the beginning because you want to connect those routes. You want to get your routes done because when you draft those other ones, you might be drafting routes that are small just because you're like, I'm not going to get these done in time. You have to be very cautious when that card shows up on how, that make sure that you have things done because otherwise that second draft is just going to murder you with a bunch of negative points. That being said, though, I think these are both very fun maps. I will consider them to be expert maps. I don't know that I would play these with beginners, either of them. If you're someone with Ticket to Ride and you want to take it up a notch, then these are the maps that you want to play with. I give them both an 8.5. I enjoy this one. I like the Iberia map a little bit more, just because I like those destination cards a lot. But just having 2 more maps in the Ticket to Ride universe makes me happy. This is a chunky expansion because it involves those train cards. But there's a lot of interesting diversions here in it. So check it out. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.